Hi, good evening everybody. So welcome to the first live stream of 2019. My name is Maryke. I'm a physiotherapist that does online physiotherapy sessions at sportsinjuryphysio.com, and I started this group with the idea to provide a place where people can get some good injury advice and also just ask questions and get answers that they can actually trust. So tonight's topic is all about colds and flus and whether you can train or whether you should rest when you have any of the symptoms. So I think a very good place to start is to first try and figure out when do you have a cold and when do you actually have the flu? Because there's always the thing of, oh, you've just got man flu, and nobody's quite sure ever. So let me just bring this slide up. They share a lot of the same symptoms, so it's no wonder that people get confused. So if you look at the list that I've put up there, one of the big differences between a cold and flu is that a cold usually comes on gradually over a few days. You start feeling your throat feels a bit scratchy, things like that. Whereas the flu comes on within about 24 hours. So from the moment that you start feeling ill to where you feel really ill is not that long. Now, the flu is usually a lot more severe. Both the flu and the cold or the common cold is caused by viruses, but they're caused by different viruses. I think I read somewhere that the flu is caused by pretty much 4 strands of viruses and their derivatives, whereas there are hundreds of viruses that can cause the common cold. So flu symptoms are typically fever and quite severe fever. You can get fever with a cold, but it's usually not, it's a lot milder. Then you get chills and you get a lot of aching in your muscles and your joints with when you have flu, whereas you don't usually get those symptoms with a cold, or if you do, it's very mild. The cold is quite heavy in the nose and throat division, so sore throats and really runny, stuffy noses are really more on the cold sides, whereas sometimes you can get that with the flu, but it's usually not as severe. Coughs can be with either of them. Usually with the flu, you actually have quite a dry cough that doesn't produce that much, but again, it's not the same for every person. What am I leaving out? Oh yes, and then headaches. It's quite rare with colds to have headaches, whereas with the flu it's quite common again. But I guess it would depend on how blocked your sinuses are as well. So the biggest differences I would say is with the flu, it comes on suddenly. The symptoms are a lot more severe. It's typically that you don't feel as if you want to move out of the bed. There's a lot of tiredness involved as well. Whereas with a cold, it's usually more in your nose, sore throat, and it doesn't tend to really make you feel that tired that you don't want to get out of bed. Now, why is it important to make the distinction between the two? Well, mainly because the flu virus is a lot nastier than the viruses that causes colds. So if you neglect the flu, you can actually land up in hospital because it can cause inflammation in the heart, in the brain, in your muscles. It can cause conditions like chronic fatigue syndrome. It can even cause sepsis. So it's really important that if you think you've got flu symptoms, to look after yourself. Okay, so when can you train and when shouldn't you train? Now, I'm quite organized tonight. I don't have a slide for that. I meant to have one. Okay, so first of all, if you have any symptoms that makes you think that you've got the flu, so symptoms like aching body, feeling really tired, a really high fever, or a fever at all, then you shouldn't do any training. Then the right thing is to rest and look after yourself. If, however, you've just got a sore throat, runny nose, more like cold type symptoms, and you're not feeling too tired, you don't have any temperature or anything, then you can do some training. But what they advise in the research is that it's light training. So you've got to look at your heart rate, and it's got to be under 120 beats per minute. However, oh no, so that's it. So if you have flu symptoms, no training. Cold symptoms, light training. But it doesn't matter what symptoms you have, you shouldn't be doing intense training or competitions. So even if it's just a head cold you've got, you shouldn't be pushing your heart rate to max because then you can actually injure yourself again. Now, what I was interested in was, because we kind of know this, that anything up from here up, you can train a little bit with, the rest down, you've got to look after yourself. What I wanted to know is there anything that we can do to make us get better quicker? Because like with everybody else, I'm quite impatient when I'm ill. Now, interestingly enough, when we look at taking vitamins like vitamin C and things like that, what the research shows is, yes, of course, a healthy diet is important, but taking extra vitamins doesn't actually improve your symptoms any quicker. The one thing that does have research behind it that shows that it can help resolve symptoms from a cold quicker is if you suck on sweets with zinc in it. Now, I can't say that stupid word, lozenges? Is that how you say it? Anyways, it's basically, in the UK, one of the brands is Strepsils, but it's got to be the one with zinc in it. What they've shown is if you can start that quite shortly after you start feeling a scratchy throat or a sore throat come on, you can actually prevent that from getting any worse and get it to resolve quicker. So that's one thing you can do. Then the other thing is there are studies where they tested it on animals, where if they infected animals with viruses and bacteria, and some of them they allowed to rest and others they made them to exercise. The ones that exercised were more likely to actually develop full-blown infections. So that just shows you that if you give your body enough time to actually just take a step back and recover while you've got a little bit of an infection, your chances are much better of actually getting over it quicker. So if you find that you're getting a sore throat or a stuffy nose, think about it. Will you be better off to just take 1 or 2 days off and suck on those sweets and look after yourself? Or do you really have to do that training session? Yeah, that's about it for tonight. So basically, any symptoms from here up without a fever and tiredness, you can do some training, but light training. Anything that involves a cough or a temperature or feeling really tired, anything suggestive of the flu, please don't train. And no, under no circumstances do any hard training with any symptoms like that. Excellent. So let me know if you've got any questions. And then remember, if you've got any injuries and you need some help with the diagnosis or a bespoke treatment plan, I can also help you via Skype video calls. So you can check out my website for that. Take care. Thank you for watching. If you would like to learn more about preventing sports injuries, make sure you hit the subscribe button. See you next time.